Hi everyone, I am so excited to be here with the very lovely Vicky Etherington, and today we are going to be talking all about hosting mega successful free challenges. We're going to be sharing exactly what happened in our challenges that we did in July, what went well, what didn't, what crazy stuff happened along the way, and of course the all important numbers as well, so that you guys can know how to actually host a very successful challenge. So please, if you're here and you're joining us, just type hello. Let us know that you're here, and just I'm going to just turn my phone off on silent as well at the same time. Just let us know that you're here and say hi. Want to see that who's here on this with us, and of course, as you've got questions as we go along, please just post them as we go as well. So Vicky, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me back, Shelley, so we can just do a little bit of a debrief on this. Exactly. I know there was lots of interest last time when we were talking about what we were going to be doing with our challenges. So yeah, it's interesting to go back and see how it all went.
Absolutely. That's the key thing, isn't it? Letting people know what actually happened for us after we did our challenges. Yeah, and there was so much interest last time we talked about challenges, so I knew we needed to do a follow-up. Just in case people haven't met you before, although Anna Louise is already saying hi, I know Anna Louise knows both of us well, so hi Anna Louise. But just in case people haven't met you before, Vicky, just say a couple of words about yourself and what you do.
Yes, so my name is Vicky Etherington. I'm a website creation coach, so I teach entrepreneurs, course creators how to create their own client attracting websites. And I've been running Facebook challenges to kind of fill that program since 2017. That was the first challenge that I ever ran. And so Shelley and I talked a little bit about that. Oh gosh, I think it was back in June, wasn't it, Shelley, when we were talking about it originally?
Yeah.
It really, I mean, challenges for me have absolutely been a game changer in terms of growing my business, because as we talked about last time, I'm not great at webinars. And so challenges were just a way that I could bring people into my world, work with them, deliver a whole load of content, and then just kind of tell them about a program that was available if they wanted to, rather than give them a kind of hard sell. And so it works better for me and my kind of, I want to say non-salesy technique. It sounds as though I'm trying to do it in a non-salesy way. It's just that I'm basically really rubbish at sales. So it worked better for me in terms of trying to do a sales pitch on a webinar. So Shelley did her LinkedIn challenge was yours in July? Because my challenge was my challenge was in June. And so we just thought it'd be really interesting to come on and talk about what we're doing in the run up for our challenges, and then come back later and kind of do a debrief. And funnily enough, it's as though we're both in tandem, and we didn't orchestrate this, but I've got another challenge running next week, and Shelley's got hers running the week after that. So but interestingly, from some of the things that I've learned from my last challenge, because I don't think it matters how many times we run this, we're always going to be learning new stuff, and actually people's expectations change as well. I've switched up quite a few things in my challenge this time around that I'm going to be running next week from what I've done previously in the past. So I think it's good to know that we're always just evolving the process as well.
Absolutely. So let's kick it off and just tell people a little bit about your last challenge. What happened in June with your challenge? Say a bit about the challenge itself and then what happened.
Yeah, so with my challenges, I'm always looking for about 300 people in my challenge. I find that that's a number that works really well for me in terms of manageability of how I can manage the comments and bring people in and give them enough attention that week. So that's always the number that I'm kind of shooting for. And from 300 people, I would normally hope to enroll about 10 people into my paid program at the end of it. So those are my ballpark figures. That's what I base all of my ad spend on. And that's kind of how I do all my calculations of what I'm wanting to spend. And it's good to have a goal. It's good to actually set yourself some figures right from the outset, because especially if you're selling if you're selling a high ticket item, then you want to know what your ratio is going to be to how many people you're bringing in as to how much you're likely to get out of it at the end. Well, whether you're selling a low ticket item as well, it doesn't really matter. So you want to have those figures up front. And because ads were really cheap at the time when I was running them back in June, I actually had 460 people sign up with the same ad spend that I would normally have budgeted for signing up 300 people. So I had 460. The really interesting thing about this was, and maybe I was paying attention to the numbers a little bit more than usual this time round, is I noticed that only 50% of the people who signed up for the challenge joined the group. Like, that's bonkers, right? 50%. So that means straight away you have lost 50% of your leads because they can't participate. They can't take part in the challenge if they're not actually in the group. So what I would encourage you to do, because I'm realizing now this is not atypical because it's happening again with my challenge that I'm running next week. I've got exactly the same figures. So about 50% of the people that are signing up are in the group. So we have to account for that. And what I'm going to be more mindful of, and I'm going to be starting to do it this week, is trying to encourage people who are on the list but not in the group yet to come on over and get into the group, because that's your lowest hanging fruit. And so that's not costing you any extra. You've already paid for those people to be there. Now, the reality of it is that some of those people, your original welcome email where you invited them to actually join the group, may be sitting in their spam folder. So they may not ever have seen it. And they may be actually feeling really irritated that they clicked on an ad, they signed up for something and they haven't heard anything back from you. Exactly. So one of the things from that as well is you want to get them on your messenger list if you can. So if you're using a bot, then that people might actually end up on the bot, but not in your group. But once they're on your bot, you can keep on reminding them to come on in and join the group. And the way that I do this, and I think you do it the same, Shelley, is on your thank you page. So as soon as they've signed up, before they've even checked their inbox to get the details, they have a button inviting them to actually go ahead and join your messenger bot. Now, honestly, I'm a complete Luddite with ManyChat and messenger bots. It's not my forte. Luckily, I have somebody who's working on that side of things for me. But it was the first time that I'd used it last time in June. It did not all go smoothly because the lady who runs it for me is based in America, and it was sending out stuff on American time on her time zone rather than on my time zone. So I think that this time around for my messenger bot, I'm actually going to, I've got a VA who's a few hours ahead of me. And so I'm going to ask her to trigger them automatically, manually, rather than sending them out automatically. So there was a few, do you know what, actually nobody seemed to mind. There was no unsubscribes from it. Nobody picked up on it and went, hang on, I'm getting like messenger bots at a really weird time from you. So, but yeah, so there were a few things learned from me in terms of messenger bots. And I would really encourage you that if you haven't run a challenge yet, that it might be something, unless you've got someone on your team that's really good at them, it might be something that you leave to one side for your first challenge, because it adds an extra element.
I absolutely wouldn't do it the first time around as well. So just to say hi to those who are joining us. Hi, Elizabeth. If anyone else has joined us since we started, please do just type hi and say who you are and where you're from. It'd be great to know that you're here. So Vicky, yours were around 300 subscribers you were going for. I kind of decided that with my first major launch, I was going to go for having 2,000 subscribers. I actually got 1,300 in the end, and was actually really delighted with that. And funnily enough, the thing that happened for me in terms of getting people as subscribers was I got a lot of organic subscribers, way more than I anticipated. So I used all of my existing channels that I have. So my audience on LinkedIn, invited all of them. I invited all my audience on Facebook. I then did Facebook ads as well, which actually the ads didn't perform that well. And I had a lot of affiliates. So people that were JV partners who then sent out about my challenge to their email lists. And actually that was one of the major real successes, I feel, in terms of getting subscribers onto my challenge. And so I would agree with everything that Vicky has said as well, that there are a lot of different stages in the tech side that are kind of behind the scenes for your challenge. And so I think if you're thinking about running a challenge for the first time, I would probably start by just doing organic promotion to get subscribers for your challenge, and keep the sort of tech side as simple as possible, so there's not so many moving parts. Because also cost wise, the more you do on the tech side, the more the costs are, and if you do ads as well, then that's another cost. So you could just, if you've built up a little bit of an audience already, just start with that audience, and then also do some JVs with people, and get a partner with people so that they invite their lists to your challenge as well, so that you get a lot of subscribers for free. Do you think that's a sort of sensible idea, Vicky, based on your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that JVs are a good idea if you've got the network to facilitate that. I don't think that the tech side of it needs to be expensive. It depends how you're doing it, obviously. So if you've got, let's think about actually what you need. You need to have a landing page. So you can build that. There's lots of places that you can build your landing page. If you've got a website, you might be able to build it on your website. So I build all my landing pages on my WordPress website. So you might need a method to kind of zap them across then to your email marketing system, which you also need. So there's a couple of expenses there, because your landing page, if you're using something like Lead Pages, you are paying a subscription. I think it's like $49 a month. And then your email marketing system, you might have to pay a subscription to that. If you're on MailChimp, it's free for the first 2,000 subscribers. But those are actually, I mean, am I missing something? If you're using ManyChat, then you might be using the upgraded version of that. There is a free version. And I think I pay like £20 a month or something for ManyChat. So that you have a few like subscribing, rolling expenses, but they're not massive. I think your biggest expense and your biggest outlay is going to be your Facebook ads. And if you're inexperienced with Facebook ads, you might have to pay someone to help you set them up. So that's going to be an upfront cost. And then you've got the ongoing costs, and that can be anything from like you could be paying like £1 per lead up to about, well, if you're not doing them well, then you're probably going to be paying about £20 per lead. So those kind of costs can really accelerate and run away with you. So you need to be aware of that if you're going to throw some money at it, you need to have a finite budget, and you need to be getting some kind of help with them if you haven't done them before, because those costs can spiral. And at the moment, so I don't know about you, Shelley, what you're finding with your Facebook ads, but my Facebook ads in June went really, really well. And perhaps I got a little bit complacent with that because I just decided to run exactly the same ads this time round. And what we need to be aware of with Facebook ads is that what worked for us last time won't necessarily work for us this time, because so much of it is seasonal. And of course, in June, our kind of environment was very different from what it is now in terms of people staying at home. And actually a lot of businesses were pulling their ad spend. So there was more inventory space on Facebook for them to be showing our ads and running them. Whereas now I think that people are really, really ramping up their marketing again. And so I'm finding that my ad costs have absolutely skyrocketed. So there's nothing wrong with the ads per se. I know they worked because they worked last time, and they've worked many times for me before. But I actually stopped my ads yesterday because they were spiraling out of control. And in fact, I've just completely revamped them this morning. I've set them running again, just as a little bit of a test to see what's going to work. But I've got 200 people subscribed for my challenge already. And I'm kind of thinking, that's fine. If it's just a small group that I run through this time, I don't mind. And so something to be aware of in terms of costs is that your ad spend isn't always predictable. So I know that I've already spent my budget for my ads, even though I haven't reached my normal target of bringing 300 people in.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say that obviously back in June time, July time, when I did my challenge, my ad cost was ridiculous because it was the first time I was running ads in a few years, and so I didn't have an audience that was already working on Facebook. So my existing audience on Facebook was a few years old, and it was for a different product than what I'm selling now and what I'm teaching now, and it was for a different platform from what I'm teaching now, which is LinkedIn. And I used my email list, which has come from LinkedIn, and obviously a lot of my audience from LinkedIn aren't on Facebook. So immediately I was testing a lot of creatives, and I was testing different ad variations, and it basically, the whole time I got, I basically spent about £3,200 on the ads, got 300 subscribers, so it was working out about £10 a conversion, but it took like the whole time just testing to get it to a point where it started working. And so this time round, actually, my ads been performing a lot better. They're still coming out at about £7 a conversion. And, we've had some that are converting less at £5, but some that are more expensive. But at least the audiences are working. So it's not as cheap as, I would like it. I've promoted a different sort of training a few weeks ago, and I was getting conversions for £3, which was brilliant. So it depends, whatever you're promoting, the cost can be different. So I know that the creatives are right. I know that they're working, but for next time, like Vicky said, I'm going to be coming up with some new things next time round, because I definitely can't just keep using the same things again and again. So again, if you're doing Facebook ads to get subscribers for your launch, I just think that, it's about experimentation, and it's about testing, and it's about kind of rolling with, so what's working, what isn't, and being willing to just keep trying different things. We've just come up and launched in the last couple of days. We've put up a new ad, which is just a very simple short copy about my challenge, just saying, I'm hosting a free 5-day LinkedIn challenge. Would you like to join? Here's the link. I mean, literally, that is pretty much it. And that is converting at like £4. Like, that one is working really well. That's like steaming ahead, and is converting a lot more cheaply. But the more finessed, longer, beautiful wording with the great video that I did for it, that's actually kind of more like £7-8 a conversion. So it's varying, it varies a lot. And also I changed to just using an image, and that's converted cheaper than using the video that I put together. There's a whole load of things about this. But I think like Vicky said as well, I would say that Facebook ads are incredible when you can get them working. Once you get them working for you in terms of being able to scale, it's a really fast way of growing your mailing list. So the way I would look at it is, probably wouldn't worry about doing it at your first challenge. I would mainly do it all organically if you can the first time round. That way, you can practice basically, and you can see what goes well with your challenge and what doesn't, and you can then do the sort of live, really good version the next time around and run ads to it, so that you've had your practice session, and then when you're putting the money into the ads, you've got the process working for your challenge. So so that's, I think that's subscribers. I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions about getting subscribers for their challenge. We'll just see if you pop it into the group. I'm just saying welcome to everyone. Hi Angela, hi Jill, hi Sophie. If you've got any questions about that, just
so whilst you're waiting for questions about that, I'm going to throw something else into the mix about that, because a few weeks after we ran our challenges, a mutual friend of ours was running her first challenge, and she had massive success with her Facebook ads. She was getting like crazily cheap leads.
Wow.
And I think she spent something insane, like, I think it was like less than £300. And I wish I brought the numbers with me, but anyway, she really, really crushed it with bringing people onto her challenge, and she had fabulous success. She loved running her first challenge. She was surprised how many moving parts there were to it, and how much there was to kind of juggle and set up in advance. But the disappointing thing for her was that she had very low conversions. Right. So very few people joined her paid program afterwards. And I think that's something that we have to recognize when we're bringing leads in, and it might feel as though it's expensive when we're paying maybe £10 a lead, but we have to be realistic about what that is. That if you are selling, let's just say a £500 product, if you knew that someone was going to join your £500 course at the end of it, you wouldn't even think twice about paying £10 to bring them into your world. So the reality is that you're not going to convert 100% of people, but when we think about the opportunity that's available for us in terms of that kind of online marketing and putting our messages in front of people, it's insane, really. When I first started out in marketing, we were doing billboard marketing and putting flyers through doors and that kind of thing. And so that was crazy. So that brochures, we would spend tens of thousands of pounds putting together brochures, not knowing if anyone was ever going to look at them. And so, for us to be paying kind of £10 a lead, sometimes even like we're only paying £2 a lead, it has massive potential for us in terms of growing our business. So don't dismiss it because you're frightened of it. It definitely has huge merit. And like Shelley says, if you get it right, it can really help grow your business fast.
Absolutely. And I think that's also a factor. So there's some other people as well who've been running challenges that I know that if you're not getting the conversions at the end, it could be because actually, although you might have got your leads quite cheaply, it could be that you're getting people who really can't afford to work with you. So you're getting cheap leads because they're people that are surfing all the time on Facebook looking to sign up to things like this to get some free help with growing their business, but actually they're not in a position to be able to invest. So then you might need to look at making sure that your audience profile is a bit more the person that is actually going to be able to afford to invest in working with you. And then the leads can be a bit more expensive for that as well. If there's more competition to get that audience, there's more people trying to market towards that audience on Facebook, then it can be a bit more expensive. So we've got actually a question. Angela's saying, I'm really new to starting up my business and wondering how I can target my audience using ads. So that's a really good question. So I would start with something simple, but Vicky, what's your opinion on that?
I would start with something. Angela, it depends what kind of business you're in, whether you're targeting other businesses or whether you're going to be working with, if it's B2C or B2B. But there's a way that you can go to your insights on Facebook and you can get an idea of what kind of things people are looking at. So if you already have a business page on Facebook, even if you don't have a massive following yet, you can have a look at it. And actually, Shelley, this is something that you used to teach, isn't it? Of how you could go in and you could have a look at audience insights and you can have a look at other people's page insights as well. And that can give you an idea of geographical bases and interests that people are looking at, what kind of things they're looking at. So typically when I first started out, and I don't do this so much anymore, but you can target people based on their interests. So for example, let's think about if you're working with, let's say, people in a wellness space or people who are in a kind of heart-centered business, which lots of us and lots of people in Shelley's community kind of fall into that category, and lots of people in mine do as well. So you think about what kind of magazines they're reading, what kind of blog posts they're reading, and you can have a look at those and think, okay, well, it might be that they really enjoy yoga, or they really enjoy meditation, or maybe they really like Deepak Chopra. And so you can have a look at some of the things that might be common to your audience that they might have. So it's not necessarily specific to what they're offering or what their business is offering, but they're likely to have these common interests. And those audiences are great for you to kind of cut your teeth on. And as you grow, then you can start growing your own custom audience. And that means people who have visited your page, viewed some of your videos on your business page, or actually visited specific pages on your website. So from that, then you can start growing your own audience. And that what we call a warm audience, people who have already had some kind of contact with you, that's when your ads start to become much cheaper. So those cold audiences, so say I was to set up an ad targeting people who like Deepak Chopra, that's a cold audience. They've never had any contact with me before. They don't know who I am. Those ads are typically going to be more expensive. And like Shelley was saying, where she had pivoted and changed and she hadn't run ads for a while, so her ads were more expensive to start with. that will decrease as time goes on and you carry on running ads. So so don't be put off if your first foray into advertising feels as though it's more expensive than you were hoping it was going to be.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about this as though I'm an ad specialist. I'm absolutely not. It's just I dabble with them and play around with them.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. So Angela is the coach, so that makes it easier. And are there small courses offering more detailed things about conversion? So that she's asking that question. So I'm, if you depends what you're meaning in terms of conversions. If you're looking for how you can get more Facebook conversions, there are a few different people that I would follow. Obvious person to look at is Amy Porterfield as a starting point, but I love John Loomer as well.
Yeah.
Loomer and John Jon. He's absolutely brilliant on Facebook ads, and he gives a lot of free content. And then he runs smaller workshops as well, and his courses are not expensive at all. So there's Amy and obviously John, I think, are two that I would definitely recommend following, and to look at their courses as well on Facebook ads. I mean, obviously there's tons of other people, but those two people are the people that have been doing it quite some time and can get you started, Angela.
The other person I would throw into that mix as well, totally agree, Amy Porterfield, John Loomer. I would also say Rick Mulready, who is like Amy Porterfield's kind of Facebook ads sidekick. And so he does loads of training with Amy Porterfield about Facebook ads as well. So he's definitely worth checking out too.
Fantastic. So let's tell people a little bit about actually our results that we got on our challenge. So if we sort of run through number of subscribers, number of clients that booked in the end, that sort of thing, that would be really, I think that might be really interesting for everyone. Just let us know if you're interested in hearing what the actual figures were. Just type that into the chat box. And into the comment section, let us know.
So I think numbers are really one of the most important things to drill down to, and of course everybody's results are going to be different, and a lot of that is going to depend not only on the original numbers that you bring in, but also on the kind of quality of the people that you have in your group, because like that example that I was saying earlier, that our mutual friend who had really great numbers but very low conversions was probably to do with the quality of the lead. And then of course a lot of it is going to be about your actual offer and how much you have built that gap between where people are now and where they want to be. Because really what you want to be taking people to within your challenge is someone's got a problem, they've got an itch that they need scratching, and that's why they've joined your challenge, because they need help with something and they think that this is going to be the answer for them. So you're going to move them through and then you're going to kind of broaden that gap. So hopefully you're going to give them a real outcome, and I would really encourage you and strongly suggest that you do give them an actual tangible outcome at the end of your challenge. But then there's still a gap between where they are now and where they really want to be. And it's your job at that point, at the end of your challenge, to make sure that they recognize that gap. And I think I mentioned on my last call with Shelley is that's the bit that I've never really been very good at, because I've given them so much within the challenge that they have this this false reality that now they have enough to go ahead and do it on their own, so they don't need the paid part of my offering. And so I've always kind of fallen down on that bit, and I still do. but actually, if you can make them recognize that there's still a really big gap between where they're much closer to that end outcome because of the challenge, the 5 days they've spent with you, but there's still a big gap that needs bridging, and you are the person to help them with that. That's going to really massively improve your conversions. So in terms of my numbers, so I had 460 subscribers, but I had literally, almost on the nose, half of them joined the group. So I had 230 people actually in my group participating in the videos and joining in on the tasks. I was hoping to bring 10 people onto my paid program, and I'm going to be really honest with you here and tell you that I had a massive meltdown on day 5 of my challenge, because I delivered a workshop on the final day and opened up the opportunity for people to work with me, and I had 3 people sign up, and I was utterly heartbroken. And it's honestly the most horrible feeling, and I don't know if it's just me that goes through this like roller coaster with this kind of launches, that you get so excited and really caught up in the buzz of it, and there's this massive feeling of gratitude that you're able to help this huge amount of people, and people are generally really really grateful for that help. And so you get a lot of positive feedback going on in those 5 days. And then there's that kind of crestfallen moment where you just think, okay, nobody actually wants to work with me. So I've given it everything for 5 days. And I don't think that's a greed thing. I think it's just a genuine feeling of maybe I wasn't good enough, maybe I didn't do enough, or maybe it's just that feeling of exhaustion, because it is a really tiring process to go through. So I actually, I went into one of my groups. There's only 20 of us in there, and just said, look, guys, I'm feeling devastated, and I know I'm being a bit tragic about the whole thing, but I'm not really sure where I can take this from here. And some very wise lady in the group said, but you've only just opened the cart, and it doesn't close for another 48 hours. So get back on your horse and send out your follow-up emails. Do your retargeting ads, which we haven't even talked about, but you can retarget people who have been interested in your course, and just start doing your follow-ups. You've got 2 days. So I kind of brushed myself down, felt rather really rather humbled by that, because I felt a bit stupid, to be honest. I felt like I'd completely over dramatized the whole thing, and I mean, there weren't tears, it wasn't like a massive drama queen moment, but it was just, I'm not good enough moment. And I think so many of us go through this when we're doing launches. But anyway, the ultimate outcome was that I had 22 people join my course.
That's amazing.
So, the lesson from that is, don't get dejected too early in your launch process if you don't get people who jump straight in and say, yes, I'm in, I want to work with you. Because the reality is there's probably a lot of people who are sitting on the fence and waiting for that final countdown to hit the 11th hour before they'll kind of think, okay, that's it, I'm in, I definitely want to do it.
Absolutely.
So I guess in terms of conversions, if I'm looking at the people who actually ran through the challenge itself and participated, it was almost 10% conversion.
Is it incredible?
Well, it's great, but if I look at it in terms of the whole subscribers, so the 460 people who subscribed, it's only a 5% conversion. So
we say only, but 5% is what you're looking to get off a challenge. That is kind of the industry standard. If we can hit 5%, and then we're doing good.
Yeah, we should be happy with it. So in terms of the numbers, I mean, I don't know, Shelley, how yours shaped up in terms of numbers, if you want to share yours.
Yeah, I can share them. So I had about 1,300 subscribers on the challenge, and then a ton of people wanting to join after the challenge doors have been closed. But anyway, so we had 1,300 subscribers, and I had about 150 on my live Q&As pretty consistently through the 5 days. I opened my cart on the Wednesday, and I ended up getting 26 people joining straight away. And I'm going to give you my secret sauce to getting people to buy straight away when you open your cart. I give an amazing bonus. So if you buy now whilst I'm live on the Q&A with you, then you'll get this bonus. And so when I opened my cart, I also opened up a live bonus, which was incredible. It was very valuable, worth $500. So it complemented the cost of the program incredibly well, and got 26 people who bought. And by the end of the Sunday, which was when the cart closed, we'd actually had 62 buyers in total. And we opened again on the Monday briefly and got a few more, but it was around about 62 buyers of the program. That's and I was delighted. I was really, really pleased. And it was a good mix. So there's quite a few people that I had on my list for quite a while, but there was also another 50% who I didn't know, who were new people, and quite a few had actually come through the ads. So that was good, even though I only had 300 subscribers from my ads, and the rest was off my list or organic or off affiliates. Yeah. So Yeah, so it ended up being a big sigh of relief at the end for me, because something we've talked a little bit about is kind of the costs of doing the challenge. We haven't gone into that much depth, but I will say that my challenge, the cost spiraled into that of a big Greek wedding, and so my I probably brought in around £70,000, but I spent around £17,000 sterling in just being able to put the challenge on. So my costs were very high.
I think that you were doing it on a scale that most people wouldn't aspire to really early on.
Not straight off. No. I mean, I've been at this for, like, you know, Vicky, I've been going for 6 years and doing launches on a month or bi-monthly basis for 6 years. So there's no way I would have jumped in with that kind of a cost commitment. And even for me, I had planned the cost, but it went over budget. Yeah. So it was meant to stay around about the 12,000 mark and ended up being 17. So it just kind of shows that even when you have a budget and a plan, it doesn't always stay there.
But a lot of that would have been people that were helping you on your team. And
so, yeah, a lot of the costs were actually my tech setup of all of the, because it was a new program, new challenge. So that I've included in that all the costs involved in actually setting up the program, all the costs for setting up the challenge, all my staff costs. I had a FOMO creator as well who I hired. We did video interviews. I had editing costs on that. Then I had my ad spend of £5,000. And I had the Facebook ads person I was using, which was another £3,000 on top. So there were a lot of different costs, and my team for the 5 days, because it ended up that we had about 800 people participating in the challenge every single day. So there were 4 of us pretty much full time. You just, with those numbers, you can't possibly do it without having other support. So this, my costs are not equivalent to what you would have if you were starting out. I went a bit, I just was like, I'm going to do this, right? All in.
But it's great. I mean, for some people, they want to be, all in or not at all. And I think it's great that you just threw yourself at it, and it paid off, right? Because it was a great launch. I think, one of the reasons why I like to keep my numbers small is because it's just me and one other person who is in there moderating during that week of my challenge. And the reason why I do that, and everybody is different, but the reason why I want to do that is because I want to be really, really hands-on with the comments. And I know Shelley was really hands-on, and she was massively hands-on in all of the Q&A as well. You can't be everywhere. You can't be doing all things all the time. And it is you've got to prepare yourself for the fact that it is a really, really tiring process. And there will be things, no matter how well prepared you are, that you will have forgotten, and that you then need to do whilst you're kind of in it. And so there's other bits, and of course you're still running a business, and so there's other stuff that's going on in the background too. It's not just, can't just be fully focused on each
and I think also, like Vicky, you run with the program that you launched, you run a small group program. So I don't know whether you had 22 people, but I don't know whether you would be able to handle it with 50 or not, or whether actually that was kind of really the max that you can.
Well, so what I did was I actually split it into 3 groups. Right. So and that worked fine. That worked really well. But I capped my numbers for my group program. So I never really want more than 8 people onto a program, because we have hour-long calls, and if you have more than that, they're going to end up being 3-hour calls, and no one wants to be on a marathon Q&A session. So so I like to keep my group sizes small. And so I do genuinely have a kind of capacity limit, although, and this is where we set ourselves a glass ceiling, don't we? That I previously thought that I never wanted more than 10 people on my program, because I never thought I could manage more than 10 people. And it wasn't until somebody on one of my coaching calls said to me, but why wouldn't you just have 2 groups? And I was like, well, I guess I could. And they were like, well, there's no reason why you couldn't have 5 groups. Well, yeah, probably. I just had never thought of it. And so we set ourselves these barriers to our own success. It's almost like we're just tripping ourselves up. And I think just having that, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It's so simple. Having someone actually say that to me enabled me to bring more people into my group, because it almost gave me permission to do it, and just planted that seed of, well, why wouldn't I? It's completely possible. So yes, I could feasibly be running with more than, well, I guess I could have 4 or 5 groups, but it's just, you know, how many groups you want to manage at any one time is that kind of, it's that ongoing juggle, isn't it? But yeah, I could never have like 1,000 people book onto my course, because I just wouldn't be able to manage it, because I do all the tech setup and stuff as well. So it would be really, really, yeah, logistically it would be very difficult.
So in a way, there's, you know, so what we're showing really for everyone listening is that you've got to think through the entire process. You know, what is your end goal? What's the program that you're launching at the end, or what's the offering that you're selling at the end? If you're selling it off the web page and off the Q&A, live Q&As that you do on the challenge, or are you bringing people onto calls and then selling it to them? Personally, I think the best advantage with the challenge is that you can just sell directly off your web page. I think that's one of the things that I love about doing challenges versus doing webinars, for me anyway. And so you're thinking about, well, what are you wanting at the end of the whole challenge? What's your outcome that you're looking for? And then designing the process that's going to allow you to achieve that. And you have to work backwards and figure out your budget. I would never put money into ads that I couldn't afford to lose. So I wouldn't spend on a credit card for my ad spend without knowing that I actually had that money in savings in the business, and I can afford to cover it if it all just, you know, if I get no conversions at the end, I can afford, you know, to lose that money. That I think is a really golden rule. My mum always used to say to me when she did a lot of stocks and shares and investing, she said, never invest money you can't afford to lose. And I really carry that into you know, ads, and that, you know, doing launches as well, is make sure you've got a clear budget at the outset, and, you know, don't spend what you can't afford to lose, basically. So if you want to start smaller because that's what you can afford, start smaller, and you can build up your ad spend as you get the conversions and you get the money coming into the business.
Yeah. I also think there's something else to say about that, Shelley, and that's that if you have overspent on your whole setup and on your ads and everything else, it puts you into a different mindset and into a different energy where you are really, really needing people to sign up.
Yeah.
And that's not a good space to be operating from, because you're then no longer operating from a place of service. You're actually operating from a place of need and almost desperation. And that will definitely come through and impact your conversions anyway. But if the worst scenario happened and you go through all of this setup and everything else that you go through in terms of pulling together your 5-day challenge, and you don't get anybody sign up at the end, there is a philosophical way of looking at this, in that you have just massively increased your list. And you now have people who are on your list, they are in your world, you've delivered them huge amount of value over those 5 days, you've built relationships, and just because they're not ready now doesn't mean that they won't be ready in 6 months' time.
Absolutely. This is so important to remember. I think you're now coming into another topic which we could just talk about for 5 minutes, is around the brand awareness that you can get as a result of hosting challenges, because it is absolutely phenomenal what happens, and people's level of knowledge of you and appreciation for you and your work is just it's just entirely a different ball game to anything else. I've run webinars for years, often on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, and I've never had the kind of sort of boost to my brand awareness at the level that this last challenge gave. You know, the number of people since then who've just been booking in appointments to have, you know, a consultation call and discuss working with me from that challenge. It's just carried on. So I've been selling to people, you know, I've not included that in in my outcome or my conversion from the challenge, but actually there's been a lot more leads generated coming through subsequently. And going back to people, if you don't get the conversions that you're looking for, I would do this anyway. Ask people, why didn't you buy? And I would always also have a downsell for people at the end of your challenge, something that is really easy for everyone to afford, that if they've been on your challenge, they couldn't afford your offer that you had in place, have different terms that you can give them to spread the cost for that offer, and then also have a downsell. So something that is at $47 or $97, that then you put that out, because that then there'll be people who will buy that who didn't buy the main products because they couldn't afford it. So you're just looking at how can you help as many people as possible that have just received this challenge. So start from that place and then create a number of different offerings at different price points so that everyone can move forwards, you know, and so that money doesn't become a barrier to that. And someone who then buys your downsell might, from applying what they learn in your downsell, they might then be in a position to buy your upsell your next time around. So
absolutely. And that, funnily enough, it's a little bit embarrassing for me to admit, but in all the years that I've been running challenges, my June challenge was the first time that I had offered an opportunity for people to buy into a downsell. And I also offered something else which I hadn't done before. It had kind of happened organically before, but I hadn't kind of formalized it, which I did this time. And that was that not everyone is ready at that particular point in time, and it's not always a money objection that they've got. So keep in mind that when we were running our challenges, we were doing it in the run up to the summer. People maybe, well, I mean, obviously not this year, but often people might think they're going to be away during the summer time, so they're not going to have time on their hands. And so, or people have just got stuff going on in their lives that we have no idea about, you know, people might be moving house or whatever it is. So now might just not be the right time for them. So what I did this time was I gave them an opportunity to put down a deposit for the September group, because I'm running Rock That Website, which is my kind of paid program, again at the end of September. And if they wanted to lock in the price with the fast action bonus that I had offered, they were able to do that even if the time wasn't right for them. So I had people book in for September, and I even had someone book in for January, because I'll run it again in January. So because they knew that they had 6 months where they were actually helping their wife grow their business and that they wouldn't have time to focus on their own. So there are things that we should be taking into account to make sure that we're not losing those people, or that we are giving those people an opportunity to work with us in a different kind of way, or a different time, or in a different capacity. So, and when I look back on the amount of challenges that I've run in the past and I haven't ever offered that, I just think it's crazy. I just kind of left those people floundering when actually they still really, really need my help. And I mean, luckily they do stay in your world. And so many people have then come on to join a later program. But that's not because I was smart about it. It's not because I had a structure and a process in place to do that. So I would encourage you to think about what happens beyond the end of your challenge to the people who weren't ready just yet.
Absolutely. So Elizabeth is asking about how much on average is the downsell and what's the upsell. So Vicky, what was the price of your program this time round?
So my program is $997.
In sterling?
There was in sterling, yeah.
In sterling, so about 1,300 or so in dollars.
Yeah.
And yes. And mine, the price of mine was actually $997 if you went for the single installment, or $97 a month for 12 months in dollars if you went for the installment option. And then downsell, I did a downsell of $97. So again, downsells can be whatever price you want to make it. Some people do 27, some people do 47. I did a 97 because I was doing a live 2-day masterclass, which I previously sold for $600. So that was the best downsell I could give on that one. I wasn't going to go less than 97, but because it's virtual and it's therefore open to as many people as want to attend, I could do it at that price. Rather than if I did it live at the $600, it would just be 10 people in a room or 20 people in a room. There would be a limit. But Vicky, what sort of level downsell would you give? What kind of price point would you do on yours?
So I think about 10% is probably about right. And if you have, I mean, lots of people talking at the moment about these little pocket products. So it might be that these people are on your list now anyway. So if you have a lower ticket price offering of like $27 or $47, that they're going to get exposed to that anyhow. So even if it's not well aligned with your challenge, then you're going to be able to offer it further down the line, maybe next month or the month after. So but I would encourage you to have something that is well aligned with your actual challenge, so that it's going to take them to that next step. So I mean, interestingly, what I'm doing this time round that I've never done before is I'm actually going to show people a process and a roadmap for building their website. So in the challenge, I'm going to take them through the first 5 stages of it. And typically in the past, people get through those 5 stages and they go, woohoo, I know how to build a website. This is awesome. Thank you so much. See you. I'm off. Bye. And that's it. And they're gone. And they just think that they can do it themselves. And then often like 8 months later, they come back and they say, I got myself in a pickle. Please, can you help me? Can I join your next program? Which makes me, obviously I'm pleased they've come back, but it makes me realize that, I really just set them adrift. I shouldn't have led them into that false sense of security. And so I didn't do them any favors. And so what I've got this time around is I literally have a roadmap that I can show them, where I say, okay, this is what we've done. This is what is still to be done if you want to create a successful website. And in fact, I've got it up. I can show you it, Shelley, if you want to see it. I don't know if that would be useful for people if you want me to share my screen.
I think just because of time, we probably need to wrap up in a moment.
Yeah,
so
we have been
we've been going for nearly an hour. So, but we'll have to come back and do another one, because there's so much that we can share, and I can see there's a lot of interest in this topic because it covers so many different areas. But would you like to just say, because I know you've got your challenge coming up, when is your challenge happening?
So it starts on Monday, so it'll run from Monday the 14th of September until the Friday. So, and that's my Confident Website Creation Challenge. So it's for anybody who's just starting out building a website, or someone who wants to revamp an existing website and they want to do it on their own. Then it's a really, really good starting point for them to just get started on the right foot.
Fantastic. And have you got a link for that you can share into the Facebook group?
Yeah, I'll pop it into the Facebook group straight after this, into the comments.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, and if any of you are interested in being able to create your website, I can highly recommend Vicky's course. It is absolutely brilliant, and the free challenge is going to be incredible as a starting point to just get you through the first few stages of the process. And I have my challenge, my LinkedIn Leads on Tap challenge, coming up on the 21st of September. So if you'd like to learn more about how to get LinkedIn working for you and start to generate appointments and clients through LinkedIn, then I would love to have you on the challenge. And I'm going to pop a link in to this challenge into the Facebook group under this post as well. But Vicky, this has been amazing. I think we could talk for literally hours about this subject. We will definitely need to come back again. With that, guys, let us know if you would like us to come back again after our challenges next week and the week after, and do a part 3 of this, because there's so much more that we just started talking about, didn't we? And really there's so much more we can get into. Maybe at some point, Vicky, we should host our own challenge on how to host challenges.
Yeah, we should do that. I do actually have a masterclass with worksheets for it's like on an evergreen that people can purchase. It's one of my low ticket purchases that people can go in, because that's the bit, isn't it? It's like actually knowing what the moving parts are that you need to put together for your challenge. Absolutely. So but yeah, it's definitely, a lot of people are using challenges at the moment really successfully and with good reasons. So
definitely.
So yeah, if you're thinking of running your own, then yeah, I would definitely just encourage you to go for it, because I do think that it really does make a lot of difference in terms of boosting your brand, like Shelley was saying.
I think they're amazing, definitely. And I would say that it is a lot of work, a lot more work than you probably anticipate running a challenge, not just on the challenge, but in the run up to it. I worked for 6 weeks without any days off in the run up to my July challenge. At which point my partner was saying, I don't want you to ever do this again. So there was a lot of work, but like I said, I was turning mine into a big Greek wedding, to be honest, the challenge to end all challenges.
And I think there's
and it
something
doesn't have to be quite as much as that.
I know we're wrapping up, but just on that note, I think give yourself enough time before your first one. Absolutely. So that you not only have time to prepare the content for it, but you have time to promote it. Because I think some people do that kind of 80-20 the wrong way around. So they'll do 80% preparation and 20% promotion. And actually you need to flip that. You need Absolutely. To be, what you really want to be doing is really focusing on the promotion. That's not to say that you should be skimping on the actual preparation of the materials, but a lot of it you might already have. So yeah, just give yourself enough of a run up into your first challenge.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me again, Vicky. And we've had great interaction actually on the comments. It sounds like everyone's been really enjoying our talk today. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us as well, and for all your interaction and your questions, and and just being so engaged. It's been fantastic to have you here, and I think we probably will come back and do a third part 3 in a few weeks' time, or maybe a couple of months' time or something, see if there's still an interest for that. And in the meantime, guys, I'm just going to say, join me again on Thursday. I'm going to be interviewing the very lovely Harriet Whaley-Cohen, all about how to conquer your inner world so that you can have everything you want. That sounds good, doesn't it, Vicky? I think it's something fabulous. We all need. Harriet is amazing when it comes to mindset. So she's just
fabulous. I've seen Harriet talk in person. She's wonderful. So make sure that you're there on Thursday. That'll be brilliant.
Yeah, and it's just 11 o'clock in the Facebook group. So 11 o'clock BST here in the Facebook group. So I will see you guys then. And thanks again to Vicky. All right. Bye for now, guys.
Bye-bye.